All right, guys, you filled out that survey, and in return, you get let in. You get admission into the secret world of baristas and a brewing guide. So here it is. This is a 7-part video series that will take you into the secret world. It will take you from amateur to pro. It will take you from coffee drinker to home barista. It will take you from zero coffee knowledge to basically all of the knowledge you need to hold a conversation about coffee, ask your baristas anything, get into this, an entry into this world that you so badly want to be a part of. And it'll also spark your curiosity so you get to experience coffee in a new way. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking the survey, and enjoy the 7-part video series. This is going to be really cool. All right, video 1 is the 5 things that have the biggest impact on coffee taste. And then I'll give you a little secret. It's like a bonus number 6. All right, here we go. The first is a harvest. Second is a region and altitude. Third is the process. Fourth is the roast. And 5th is the brew ratio. Now, let's break those down really easily. Number 1, the harvest. So, coffee is a cherry. It's a fruit that grows on a tree, all right? That may blow your mind already. Some companies will harvest the entire tree, or they'll do this method where they have a machine that shakes off the coffee cherry, and then they'll all go in one portion, then they'll all get made into coffee beans. But the best coffee comes when the cherry is picked at when it's ripe. So not all fruit on a tree ripens at the same rate. Harvesting that yields the best taste is usually hand-picked, because people go out in the fields and they pick only the ripest cherries at the right time, and that yields the best flavor in the end. Number 2 is the region and altitude. So typically the higher the altitude, the better the taste. It's kind of like wine. When the vines of wine are strained a little bit during the growing process, it usually yields the best tasting fruit. So same with coffee. When higher altitudes, the trees are strained a little bit. They have to work a little bit harder, and that yields the best tasting fruit. So typically the higher the altitude, or medium altitude, so let's say 900 to 100, so to 1500 probably yields the better tasting. Also region, different regions that coffee are grown in taste different, and you'll also find that those regions have certain altitudes to them. So Kenya, Ethiopia, these coffees taste like tea-like. They're very refined florals and fruits. The coffees grown in South America, Central America have more of those chocolatey, tasty notes. They have vanilla and toffee flavors to them. And then you have your Asian coffees, which are typically at a lower altitude and yield a milder taste. So there you have it. Those regions and altitudes, that's how they affect taste. Different types of processing, we're going to get into this more in depth. But there's the wet process, there's a dry process, and there's a pulped natural, which is a mix between the two. It's like a hybrid. So dry process, which is usually called natural, means that the fruit is dried on the bean before it's taken off. The second is a wet process, or washed, and that's when the fruit is taken off before the bean is dried. And then there's this pulped natural, which is like a mix between wet and dry, and that's when the fruit is taken off, but the mucilage, so the thing between the fruit and it's a layer between the fruit and the bean, is kept on while it's dried. And these all yield very different tasting coffees. As you can imagine, the dried process is more fruity flavor. You taste more of the fruit that was dried on the coffee rather than the actual coffee bean. The wash process yields a it's like a cleaner, that's the only way I can say it. It's like a cleaner tasting, more refined, lighter bodied, I would say. And then a pulp natural, they say it's supposed to yield like a lesser acidity. You know, I'm not sure if that's 100% true, but it also yields a different taste. All right, we're moving on. The roast. So let's break it down into 3 different roast types. There's light, there's medium, and then there's dark. The roast definitely affects the taste. Rather than talking about light, medium, and dark roasted coffees, I'm going to talk about how coffee is roasted to bring out the best flavors of the coffee. So when you have a product, a good quality product, you want to bring out the best flavors of that coffee. Roasters will usually roast it in several different ways and then take the roast profile that brings out the best taste of the coffee. Typically, lower quality coffees are roasted darker because the point is not, you can't bring out the best taste of a lower quality coffee, okay? The mentality is the darker the coffee, the lower the quality. And sometimes when coffee is roasted too light, it doesn't have enough of the like sweetness that coffee can really have. So that's what a roaster is trying to do. It's trying to, a good roaster will bring out the sweet spot of the coffee. A coffee that's roasted too light or too dark is a red flag to maybe that the quality of the coffee isn't very high, or the roaster may not be very good. This is a very harsh this is a harsh reality of coffee, all right? Brew ratio. So some people recommend their own types of brew ratios. My preference is a 1 to 15. How you read a brew ratio is it's like 1 gram of coffee to every 15 grams of water. So let's say you're brewing on the Chemex. My brew ratio would probably will be 30 grams of coffee to 450 grams of water. I do like a stronger cup. I'm a caffeine fiend. I don't know if anybody else is, but basically you decide what you like. But I would say like between like a 1 to 15 ratio or 1 to 17 ratio is like safe. Start there and then experiment. So what these ratios do is it just gives you a starting place. Let's say you want it to taste a little bit stronger, then you add more coffee. Or what if you like a weaker cup, or you want to drink more coffee but you don't want the effects of the negative effects of the caffeine, then you make a lighter cup. So you would dilute the coffee with more water. And bonus tip number 6, okay? Typically, and I just saying typically as a blanket statement, the higher quality coffee is coffee that you pay more money for. Now, we judge, what we do in the coffee industry and how we judge is the best way to know that you're paying fair wages or know that the coffee like is being taken care of, or know that it's being roasted correctly, know that it's organic and fair trade and all of that, is by paying for it. And that doesn't mean paying for the advertising on a bag that says organic, okay? Most of the best farms in coffee don't have the money to pay for an organic certification, but their practices are organic. Why? Because that yields the best tasting coffee. Same with hand-picked over machine process or harvesting, okay? It costs more to pay people to go hand-pick the cherries. It costs more than paying a machine to go shake off the fruit from a tree. And it's actually better for the tree if it's hand-picked rather than shaken and like beaten and battered. So this is what we mean by like, the more you pay for your coffee, the better you ensure that you're paying for like organic and fair trade and like shade grown or partially shade grown or harvested correctly. Money pays for that stuff, and I'm not saying all the time, but usually, you know, farmers are more concerned about producing a really, like the farmers that really care about their coffee are more concerned with putting money back into their farm than trying to get a certification from the government about like being organic, because they're already doing organic practices, they're already paying their employees enough money. So you decide where your money goes based on, you know, what you pay for. And that is secret bonus tip number 6 that trumps all. You spend money on coffee and you ensure that you get the best, typically, as a really easy way to tell. All right, stay tuned for more.